Thank you so much. I hope we can match half that energy. Um, okay, I think let's sort of kick it off with intros, right? Why don't you go? I don't think I can do justice to introducing like all three of you. You should also, by the way, talk about the launches that Shemaroo has done, as well as BharatBox did just yesterday. Very coincidental, but like use the stage, talk about what you guys have launched in the metaverse, and more about yourselves as well.
Thanks, Vivek. Hi, guys. I'm Ram. I'm one of the co-founders of GuardianLink and Jump.Rate. We are a gaming marketplace, started out of India, now global, ranked about #2 on Polygon, and across chains like Neoscale, we are ranked #1. We have about, I think, close to about 120,000 users in our platform, majorly focused towards in-game assets. Listed about 1,000 plus games right now. Been in the industry from 2017. People are actually building right now, so I'm actually very excited. And good to be here, good to be part of this panel. And over to my friends and who are going to be soon part of our ecosystem as well. Go ahead.
Thanks, Vivek. Thanks, Ram. I'm Karan, the CEO of BharatBox. Our goal is to onboard IPs and brands onto the metaverse. We announced in India in July, just 5 months ago. We signed 25 partners. We went live yesterday with Bharatverse, and we have partners like Shemaroo, Eros, Hangama, IFA Awards, and many more. It's now open to public just for 10 days, where we have 199 lands, where Indian users can come and register through Google UPI payment and apply for through a raffle. So if you're lucky, you'll win the land. And look forward to onboarding more brands and companies onto the Web3 journey.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you to the fellow panelists. My name is Rahul Mishra, and I represent Shemaroo Entertainment. We are a 60-year-old media company, predominantly in the business of holding Bollywood IPs. We have close to 4,000 Bollywood movies we own, and many other such numbers in regional language movies and other content pieces. We have television channels, OTT platforms, and now we are very excited to be entering the Web3 space. And incidentally, we've been having a series of great announcements. Yesterday we announced a partnership with Sandbox, BharatBox, where we are with the team building on some very interesting gaming opportunities from very, very well-known IPs like Jab We Met and others, where users can come and engage and co-create with us. And today we are also announcing our Metaverse platform, which is Shemarooverse. It's a social entertainment Metaverse platform, which works on your mobile and your desktop as well. It's on the Near blockchain as well. So very excited to be part of this panel and talk a lot more about this.
Let's give them a hand, right? Like he just announced a huge launch. You guys should check out the platform. Okay, I think communities in the metaverse is interesting, right? Like, I don't know how many of us have actually like entered a platform which you would deem as like the metaverse. So let's probably try and break it down into this idea of like what is a community, and then like what's a community in a metaverse, right? And if you were to look at traditional games, right? Like I think GTA 6 just launched their trailer, which was massive. It was probably like one of the most watched YouTube videos within 24 hours, besides like music videos and whatnot. So stuff like Fortnite and GTA, which are like extremely large games, if you were to take the idea that games are like the largest metaverses out there today, do they actually have communities within them? And how would you look at the idea of a community within the metaverse, especially as you look to foster a sense of community in the metaverse spaces that you're building, for example, like BharatBox, Sandbox, or like the Radix environment?
So community is kind of fundamental for like any firm, right? Like if you take a look at like Apple has the biggest community across the globe. In Web3, community is much more inclusive, right? Because they're buying an asset like an NFT, which gives them some kind of ownership within the, the platform, and they are much more kind of vested on that particular like a metaverse or a game or whatever. Right? They want to make sure the game comes out well. They want to make sure the metaverse is a success. So I guess that's how Web3's community is different from the regular Web2 folks out there. And like for us, for example, when we launched our platform, we made sure there is constant progress being shown on across all our platforms and Discord, Twitter, and all that, right? Right from the product development to the launch stage. Even if there was a bug in the product, we used to like tell this is what is happening, the devs are working on and stuff like that. So that the only reason for that was because the community needed that. They kind of like because they wanted to be part of the the overall product, how it's being launched and stuff. They were as much as vested as any of the founders of the company, right? And so I guess that's how Web3 itself by nature. It's how like if you take a look at Ethereum, it's all run by the community, right? There's not like the founders are coming in and managing it. So I guess that's the fundamental of any Web3 firm out there. And for a product like a metaverse or something like that, it's just much more extended than any infrastructure player out there because it's all about the users there. If the users are happy, then the metaverse has adoption. Then there are more people coming into that metaverse. So more on the metaverse, I would request Karan and Rahul to talk about it because we are a marketplace. We help them bring in users and help them like sell their products here. But in terms of marketplace, it's all about communication to our community. As long as they're informed on what's happening in our product, they're very happy and they keep on coming to our product and buying stuff. So yeah, so community is part of every firm out there. Name it like it's a Web2 or Web3, whatever. It's the most important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, as we all know, that Fortnite is a Web2 metaverse or a sandbox or a Decentraland. We have Web3 metaverses, and of course, that allows for ownership of assets. But what is different in Web3 or on the sandbox is to build a creator community, where it's not just for players and for users, but it's actually to give an opportunity through self-publishing and UGC, where landowners can come and create their own games and publish their own games on the platform. And that's our goal, to promote individual landowners to publish their games. And whilst we are partnering with large IPs at a company level, like Shemaroo or Eros or others, we are also we will also open up our IPs and our partnerships to the creator community, where we'll give them an opportunity to submit their best ideas and their best games based on that IP. And then we'll publish the best games on the IP land and give the best winner a reward pool of 50,000 sand. That's a game jam concept which we'll be launching next year. So we can get the best ideas and best ideas from the creator community, where they will get an opportunity to then partner with the IPs and the brands that we onboard.
Thanks, interesting. So the way I see it is, till the advent of Web3, when we talk about Web 1, Web 2, we had a company would reach out consumers as audiences, consumers, or fans. There was no real community being formed because the community needs to partake in the company's offering and products. And that is truly what Web3 is enabling now. Even as an entertainment company, when you release a film, we have fans because they are consuming the content. They will love the content and they will group together and talk about it. But what is their role in building of that particular content? Not much. For the first time, this will truly happen now. So when we get into the immersive platforms, metaverses, which are fully on blockchain, where people are rewarded to partake and are building the content or the games together, that makes the real community. And that's the exciting piece about Web3. So looking forward to more and more such community engagements.
If you were to break that down, right, like how is it different for someone who's a big fan, or like in the Web2 era was a big fan of some of Shemaroo's biggest hits, right? I'm guessing there's some Akshay Kumar movies and stuff. So like I'm sure there's like fans of that, right? So far, I'm guessing they had to like stand at the airport or something to like say hi to Akshay Kumar. But like what sort of happens now? Like how does the Shemaroo verse or anything that you're doing in the Web3 world impact like a fan of Akshay Kumar? How does he get to partake in that success, or why does he have like a better, more engaging value proposition uh, than like earlier before, where he was just a passive consumer of content?
Yeah. So if the consumer is not participating, I think he's still a fan. If I'm not doing actively something on the platform which makes me closer to Akshay Kumar, either through owning a digital asset, trading it, or building something, co-creating something with Akshay Kumar, till then I'm a fan. So that's the difference. So once you start putting in your time, effort to do something together and having a recognized ownership on the chain, that's when the real value starts to unlock. Now, how can it be done? There are, this can go really wild to, using a lot of technology, we can go to extremes, but I think it's a start. So what we will do is we will enable, initial steps would be easy access to ownership of digital assets and possibly co-creating some content. That's what we'll start with right now.
Just to come in here, so how we can, like your question was, how can a fan of Akshay Kumar, interact, or a fan of Kareena Kapoor of Jab We Met from Shemaroo, right? And that's what we are giving the opportunity to the fans to become owners of assets of Kareena Kapoor. And next year we'll be launching an avatar collection of Kareena Kapoor, wherein a player can come and buy the voxel avatar of Kareena Kapoor and then use that asset to play the Shemaroo game, or use that asset then of Kareena Kapoor as an avatar to go and play other games in the sandbox. And then we will cross collaborate with other brands. Maybe, we had it in the West where we did a cross collaboration between Gucci and Snoop Dogg, where the Snoop Dogg avatars wore a Gucci wearable. So we'll collaborate with Shemaroo sponsors and Shemaroo brands, where their avatars can collaborate with fashion brands or other D2C brands to bring them to life. So this is where they can, actually, apart from being a fan, they can become a owner of the asset of the movie, of the IP.
Got it. I think that's very helpful, because this would actually open up a way for people to like partake in like getting rewarded from spending their time, effort, money. I mean, yeah. So far they were spending money. Now there's like finally a way for them to potentially like monetize as well. Let's hope that plays out. Which actually brings me to my next question to you, right? And this is just like objectively looking at it. Decentraland and Sandbox have been around for a while now, right? I think the amount of traction that they got after Meta announced that, actually Facebook announced that it's sort of like rebranding to Meta. Both of the tokens like really went up. There was also like a lot of adoption. But of course, since then, there has been a drop, right? Forget the token price, right? I'm not worried about that. But like, if a game or like an engaging platform is not able to retain users, right, and it's sort of taking time, do you feel like this idea of like, allowing other people to buy land and create their own content is working, or it's better for like a gaming studio which has the expertise, knows what needs to be developed itself to actually build this in a more centralized manner? Because that model seems to have been working, right? So like, what's to say that this thing is perhaps like not working because you don't have like expertise from the people that you need to help co-create? Because that's going to be a challenge. Like one set of like experts who are like building in a centralized environment, very well funded, versus like decentralizing the development, may not actually like, be able to compete with the likes like of a rock star, right? Like, so eventually if like 5 years, 10 years later, that is your competition, how do you think about that idea? Like, how do you get like 70 million people excited about launch of your product?
No, I think we are working on a dual model. So to answer that, we do understand, obviously the goal is for UGC and self-publishing, where the vision, what we spoke about, is for an individual owner to be a creator and create his own game, where we, drive the creator economy to drive the open metaverse, which is the vision. But at the moment, we do understand the hindrances, like you said. So we do offer centralized studios where we have a trusted partner program, and we have more than 225 studios who are approved and trusted partners which go through a test process. And these centralized studios then work on the game development for large IPs. So we are bridging the process through a dual model of centralized studios, and then of course opening it for self-publishing at the same time. And the goal in terms of numbers, like you're talking of millions of users, I think today the play is to create content, is to publish games, to promote creators, work with brands, IPs, and also individual game designers to create content on the platform. And the goal is, and then to open mobile by end of 24, and then from 2025, 26, we will drive the user base after that. That's the overall roadmap.
Got it. I think that makes sense.
The key is content right now, and driving content and use cases where people would like to come on the platform to engage, to work with the Shemaroo, or now we're working with Mahabharata. I believe that today a 10-year-old child is not going to want to listen to Mahabharata and read that in a storybook, right? He will want to come and play an immersive game where we can tell the story. And that's what Madhu was yesterday with us at the event, and he was saying, we'd like to communicate the story of Mahabharata to the next generation through a game.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to make possible.
Yeah. No, even I would probably listen to a podcast only even today. But I think that makes sense, which is like have like some amount of centralized development, because that needs to like seed the ecosystem. And I think this has worked fantastic for Roblox. So a very, very similar like foray for them into like, getting users to be able to co-create experiences within the Roblox ecosystem seems to be working. Ram, so I think like given that you are doing this marketplace, right? If you were to like treat everyone over here like a 5-year-old and explain the economic model of metaverses versus like traditional gaming studios, how would you like break both of these down? I think there was like talk of like, community being able to partake in it, but yeah, how would you break it down as a 5-year-old to everyone in the room?
See, the fundamental difference between a Web3 game and a typical Web2 game is that, as I told you initially, right, Web3 game is much more inclusive because the people who play it, the gamers, they own the asset. So we've typically seen games which are listed in a platform have about a high retention rate to about 30 to 40% on like day 15 and day 27, right? So that's typically not possible in a Web2 game. A Web2 game has a max retention of maybe like 5 to 6%. So that is one of the biggest change between a Web2 and a Web3 game. And I think on a longer run, we would see, regular Web2 games kind of start adopting to the technologies that is there in Web3 right now, right? For example, the entire game logic doesn't have to be decentralized. It doesn't have to be on-chain. Just the assets can be on-chain because it's not necessary. But certain games, if the game logic is decentralized, it makes much more sense. Like, for example, a game like Farmville, if it's getting into Web3, you can have the entire game to be decentralized because the game is all about buying assets and playing it within the gameplay and then making money out of that, right? So it makes sense to have it completely decentralized, but not like a game like GTA, because GTA is not built for something like that. So I guess that's the major difference between a Web2 and a Web3 game. And on a longer run, we should stop seeing how there's a difference between Web3 and Web2, because see, the ultimate issue with Web3 is that there is not much users here, right? We have to face that. There are not much users. And the users that are there are also incentivized because of the token that is there. So if we could find a balance between getting in the long-term users who are actual gamers who come for game, like playing the game, and then also have the other guys who trade your assets, that's the perfect sweet spot. And like studios like Epic Games and all these guys who are building next Web3 games that are going to come out, which are AAA games, are doing that. Like they're taking the best from Web3 and building a very solid AAA rated game so that users stay for a longer time and also have a benefit by trading the assets and being part of the overall NFT trade and Web3 the token trade and stuff like that. So I guess that's what's going to happen in the next 3 to 4 years. Right, with the market also getting better, we would see more games which are playable, which are games, and also adopt Web3 for the betterment of like trading the assets and having ownership of the assets and stuff like that.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So we've essentially gone from like users having to pay to buy the game to then we went to the freemium, which was like users were being monetized through in-game like purchases and currency and whatnot. And now it's sort of like, yeah, there could be like in-game purchases, but then there's this additional layer of like being able to transfer the asset, right?
Yeah.
So I think like what are some examples where this is happening in an interoperable way, right? Because a lot of this could just happen within the closed ecosystem. Of course, there is the whole angle of transparency and trust and whatnot, which I think Steam is also like managed to like hold on to that trust, right? So I think like one huge benefit would be that if I were to like move my assets from one place to another, right? Or have value beyond the platform in which I was anyway buying and trading it. So what are some examples where like having games on chain or having assets on chain allows for interoperability and users are able to do stuff outside of like that like closed ecosystem, which is what like the walled gardens of Web 2 were in the previous era.
Got it. So, see, I would always compare this analogy of like how OTT kind of pushed like movie producers to get into that because the consumers wanted that, right? None of the producers wanted their movies to be released over television like 3 to 4 weeks, right from Hollywood to Bollywood, right? But they had to give in because the consumers were demanding movies which were credible, like even from like independent studios to be made, and they wanted to have like sit at home, and COVID kind of accelerated it, sit at home, watch movies and stuff. So that's what is happening with gamings also right now because the end consumer wants to have complete ownership of the asset. Like let's say I buy a phone right now, I know that I'm owning it because I'm holding it in my hand. But if I buy a asset in let's say Call of Duty, it's within that game. Tomorrow they decide to shut down or they decide to shut me out of the game, my asset is locked in, right? Let's say I spend like $1,000 of that's gone. So what if,
But
I could,
what signs are you seeing that this is happening, right? Like,
I
are
could,
people complaining on like community forums
so
that
it's all about
like
it's
I
all
don't
about
want
the
to.
tech, right? So when OTT happened, no one knew that like you could watch something on television, right? A movie that was supposed to be screened, you could watch it on television. So when the tech is there, like when people now are able to find out that I can own an asset and trade it, that's when the demand starts to come in. That's one of the reasons why studios like Epic Games, which owns like Fortnite, is getting into Web3 gaming because they know that after a point of time they have to give, like they've seen how they moved from gaming console to mobile gaming, and now like Web3 is seen as an arm. Later on, it will be part of their entire roll-up, right? So that is what I'm seeing here. The consumers want it. They want the assets to be owned by them because if I own it, then it means it's on my chain, it's on my wallet, it's on chain. And if let's say the game shuts, I can move it out. Or if I decide to go ahead and not play the game, and I can at least go ahead and sell it to someone and exit, right? Which is not possible right now. That's a very simple use case. If solved, has a potential to tap into $1 billion market. Like for example, because I saw this report that is written, there is about $86 billion worth of assets that was bought in 2022, in-game assets, right? There's not NFTs, just in-game assets. 20% of that it converts in the next 4 years. That's like, $30 billion industry. So that's what we are looking at. And that will happen because that's how, consumers' behavior and nature pans out.
Makes sense. So you're saying like the incentive for Unreal to perhaps like at some point Unreal and Unity to be able to like implicitly allow for interoperability would just be the fact that there is so much user pull to actually do it.
So I would say it's more than Unreal and Unity, guys, because it's the gaming studios that have to come together. If they decide that, I'm going to open up, I'm going to work with another gaming studio and make sure that, an asset that was bought, a gun that was bought in Call of Duty can be used in Counter-Strike, things will open up. But it's a long run. It's going to take a lot of time. Yeah.
Okay, I think another like thing that sort of had come up, and I guess this was something that Meta's Horizon Worlds face, right? Like, and perhaps like current to you, because Sandbox has like a bunch of users in a shared space. How do you think of like safety and community guidelines, right? Like, how do you ensure like harassment and those kind of incidents is not like, I mean, the platform doesn't get cornered by a lot of like people who end up like making it difficult for like the rest of uh, like like a lot more genuine intent users to like come in. So like, what are you doing in terms of implementing safety and community guidelines, not just in terms of guidelines, but also in terms of like the tech implementation of it?
No. So in terms of guidelines, we have obviously a strict KYC process, which is already in place to get them on board. But through our communities, whether it's through Discord, Telegram, or other platforms which we have, we do interact with the community there. But in terms of, but it is an open platform. We truly believe in decentralization. So to close it would make it difficult. So we don't wish to do that. But we interact through our channels and through our community to protect them. But there is no way we can close it in any way per se, apart from a KYC process which we have in place.
Okay, but then like, what about like harassment on chat, or like, you know, users cornering another user in a space, and like there's actually like, I think like not physical but like virtual harassment, right? Like, how do you prevent something like that? Is there like tech that you're investing behind?
No, we obviously work with AI. We have AI tools in place in all our chats, which are in place, and we try to prevent that. But that is for any community project. You know, we recently backed a project called Asian Woman in Singapore, where it's a NFT project for women, and she set up the project because she was on a Discord chat and a gaming chat of another platform which I will not name, and she joined the chat and she got harassed by the other gamers to say that what is a girl doing on this platform, and that gave her the vision to set up her own woman-led NFT project, right? And now we are working with her. So that can't be avoided, but we are using AI tools to protect that, and that's what we're integrating. We're working with AI not just for the on the community side, but also in game development. Those who saw Seb speak earlier, he spoke about how we're integrating AI to make the development process of games also much faster. But that's a separate note.
Got it. Okay, I think we're at time, but I think like if we have to like leave this off one, so I don't want you guys to predict the future because I know it's like damn tough, but what's one trend, like just one trend that you are personally like, you know, seeing, and that sort of like excites you, right? Like, could be data, could be like otherwise.
I think I'll stick to the topic about communities here. So my take across learning of the Web3 ecosystem and to people who are entering now is that don't stress about building the community. Stress more about creating a platform which enables community to actually engage and do things in a more natural manner. Communities on their own will get formed, and you just have to be enabling more and more of such acts to happen in your platform. I think that's the focus, rather than trying and going and buying communities and doing other things around that. So that's one thing I'm going to see in the next few years happening a lot more as well.
No, I think what we are excited about is that we believe that every brand or every company, you know, in Flipkart is a pioneer in this, so is Shemaroo, that they will have to go on a Web3 journey. Now, what they do in the Web3 journey, what products they design, how many years it's going to take, but they will onboard onto the Web3 journey. And I think the fact that and we don't need to chase users or numbers or community, but the question is that ownership, transparency will come into play, and eventually the network effect will come into play, and that will automatically drive the users, and that will drive what we're all looking at. But it will come into play. It's a long journey. Web3 is at an inflection point, and every company will be having a roadmap in that space.
So overall, the trend that I'm seeing is that the next generation is kind of live their life digitally, right? For them, a lot of stuff in the digital world makes sense than the physical world, fortunately or unfortunately, right? But that kind of leads into stuff like gaming and metaverse and all that. And when you're having most of your life spent on digitally, like you would want to have some ownership on the digital world as well. That's where we come in, right? We provide a platform where the ownership can be possible. You can go and buy something. So I see that trend, like which started around with the Gen Z community, now it's becoming much more bigger. Hopefully, with the tech, which is getting bigger, and with more adoption happening, we would that would enable platforms like us to, scale much more. Yeah.
Cool. I think we're almost done. So yeah, it was insane. At least like we unpacked communities. We even checked why there is like low adoption and how do you think about like the challenges of like scaling something like this, closed ecosystems versus open ecosystems. How gaming studios are like going to eventually like start doing this. What's the user need? What's the financial model? As well as like concerns around safety, and finally like what are some of the trends that you should be excited about. I hope whoever stuck around found it useful. The rest I think was just like damn hungry, because like even I can smell lunch outside. Cool. Over to the host, and yeah, hopefully you guys get to go to lunch as well. Thank you so much.
Folks, those who are still here, can we give them a big round of applause? Come on.